You're listening to John Reed on Jazz Radio 94.1 FM.
It's 18 to 5, Jazz Radio 94.1 FM, and it's a great pleasure to have on the line one of our really fantastic jazz singers, Christine Sullivan. Christine, thanks for joining us this afternoon.
Thanks, John. Thanks for inviting me.
Well, you've had an incredible career, and like so many of our really great singers, you got your starts at Ronnie Scott's Jazz Club in London.
Yes. It was a great surprise. I found myself doing the support for Ronnie Scott at the Limerick Arms, which was a great jazz club at the time, and we were doing the support for him. And afterwards, when I met him, he said, would I like to perform in his club? And I, of course, accepted the offer straight away. We paid for our way over, and then he paid us for that week that we performed. And it was just a great honour. And that year, Chucho Valdez and his Cuban band were the other band that played. So, yes, it was a great start for such a young singer in jazz, because I came to jazz later. Jazz isn't the first thing that I sang as a young singer.
Well, you've performed all over the world, and even as a lead vocalist with the Danish Radio Jazz Orchestra.
Yes, that was incredible too. At the time, Niels Henning Ørsted Petersen was the soloist in that incredible band, and I was asked here to perform as a guest Australian as well in that, and I think I sang 3 tunes in that concert at the concert hall in Melbourne.
Yeah, well, then I'm looking on to 1998, when you were, which must have been a real highlight of your career, when you were part of the Thelonious Monk Institute Awards in Washington.
Yeah, that was incredible too. It was I seemed to be on a real roll at the time, and I was asked to apply for this, so I got the appropriate, application forms, recorded the music, set the biography and photos, paid the fee. I think it was $65 to enter. 30 other countries were involved, and they chose 12 singers.
Well, tell us about some of the singers you were up against, because they were pretty heavyweight jazz singers, weren't they?
They were. The singer that won that year was a wonderful singer, Terry Thornton, and she had been in remission from cancer at the time. She was 65 years of age. And also the competition was an open-age, open-style jazz competition. All of the different styles of jazz were represented. Tierney Sutton was also a semi-finalist that year. Roberta Gambarini and Jane Monheit were among the 12 of us.
And how about some of the judges? There's a pretty incredible panel of judges, too.
Yep, Diane Krall, Dee Dee Bridgewater, Nina Freelon, Joe Williams was there. He died, I think, a couple of years later. The band was great, too. Grady Tate was playing drums and Norman Simmons was the pianist. It was an amazing experience.
Yeah, it must have been wonderful to work with all those people.
Oh, incredible.
And you've also been the support act for Art Garfunkel at Melbourne Concert Hall. That would have been quite some time ago. Yeah,
that was incredible too. We were asked by, I think, a promoter here. It may have been, I can't remember now, it might have been, I can't remember the promoter's name, but we were asked, Doug DeVries and I were asked to do the support for Art Garfunkel, which was also an amazing gift to be given for a young singer, so it was good.
And tell us what you're doing now with your music.
I've come a long way in trying to find really myself, I think. I've been, as I said, jazz wasn't my first love, and it was definitely not something that I performed in my developing years, so I came to it later, thinking that I could probably keep going in jazz. But I tended not to. I found it that my pop and rock influences and my folk influences tended to be much stronger. And in my choices, I would choose more contemporary songs, rock songs, and also folk songs to sing within the jazz context, using jazz players to interpret them, preferring the jazz, because I'd kind of been turned on to the jazz chords and the beautiful inversions and the harmony of jazz. I was more interested in having those chords support my voice than the standard chords. Also heavily influenced by Joni Mitchell's incredible life and in music, and her choices and her loves were really of my era. So I felt that I had to, be myself, and the more I kept reflecting on who what kind of singer am I meant to be, what kind of contribution can I make here, I found that I could make more of a contribution by just remembering my roots, remembering where my heart was, and going there and using that material and writing along those lines and finding artists who could write for me or prepared to write for me to support this voice, because really my voice is my biggest offering. I was never really attracted to, scat singing or vocalese only as an amazing thing. I was always amazed and loved it, but I was never really interested in being a vocalese artist. So I felt that my strength was really my voice. I think I've found a way now. I've recorded 7 albums, 6 albums. One didn't get released, but it was that album, the one that didn't get released, where I really felt that I'd found my voice and my direction. By the time I'd found myself in the '98 competition, I'd really moved in that direction. I've only done 2 jazz albums that could be called jazz albums, my very first 2 recordings, and the following albums have been more adult contemporary, I guess. It's hard to really pinpoint what they are, but I haven't really invented another category. I've just fused what I've known, and I've been doing that for a very long time, really. Just by having no choice. I'm a self-taught musician, so I'm more of a natural performer and singer.
Well, do you think you're going to continue touring overseas, or will you be concentrating in Australia?
Look, I've been concentrated in Australia for most of my life. So my next new focus now is to go overseas more. I was very excited and very stimulated and very inspired by singing in Washington, D.C., and those people that were around me were so incredibly uplifting. And just to be in the presence of people that are just so self-realised as artists is a marvellous experience. And I was just inspired really to have more of that. And when I came back to Melbourne, I was a little bit despondent because, I'd done everything and really I'd been played in every club, and I had played with every musician, and I'd really, I just yearned for more stimulation, I think, and so the plan really is to relocate to New York, probably this year. We're going in a couple of months to check out, where we can live and all of that, and then we're going to try and make that move to New York. Yeah, and I don't know. Look, anything could happen once you make that move. It's really an adventure. The album I've released recently, called Away, is where I'm at now. It's an largely improvised, some interpretations of songs. There are no standards. There's a fairly jazzy improvised tune that we made together as a band. David Jones and Every Everipedes was the bassist. Look, it really is open to whatever happens, really. But I would prefer, I think, to continue in music in the United States.
Well, it sounds like a really exciting future ahead for you. We're running out of time, but
yes.
It's been fantastic to talk to you, Christine.
Thank you.
I've got a track lined up live from your Live at Mietta's CD.
Oh, great. That's amazing.
Yeah, Better Than Anything. Which,
great. It's a good track.
Fabulous version. Well, we'll talk to you again soon, and we'll look forward to receiving your new CD and playing some tracks from that.
Great.
Thanks, Christine. Christine Sullivan, one of our great jazz singers, and here she is with Better Than Anything.